Recently there was a man in Northumberland convicted of possession of firearms. The only thing is, they weren't actually firearms. Now, from what I understand reading this article, he had about 14 handguns, and they were basically all just front venting blank firing pistols. So what is a front venting blank firing pistol? Well, I've got something kinda like it here. No, this is not illegal before you get your panties in a twist. This is a top venting blank firing pistol. This is one that does comply with the UK law. You do not require a license to own this. Anyone over 18 could legally buy these. Now, you notice this one is orange. That is to comply with UK law, to comply with the 2006 VCR Act. That's the Violent Crimes Reductions Act. That's the same act that says that airsoft BB guns also have to be brightly coloured unless you've got a good reason to have them in all black. So, a front venting blank firing pistol. Okay, so these fire what's known as a blank cartridge. Now, I have some here, and again, these are completely legal. These are very similar to a live cartridge. The only difference is, well, they're not live. The reason these are not live is because they don't have a bullet. You see, cartridges have different parts to them. This is obviously the casing. On a live round, this would be brass. I do not think this is brass. But you would have the bullet in the front there. That's the projectile. Here's the casing. You've got the primer there. These do not have the bullets. There's no projectile. Therefore, you do not need to have the gas coming at the front. So a front venting blank firing gun, all the gases and the flash from the gun would usually come out the muzzle end. Now, that does not happen on this one because it is not a front venting. This is a top venting, meaning under UK law, the barrel from here to here is filled with steel, so you cannot fire anything through it. The reason being, in theory, is to stop you from putting things in there to fire it like a live cartridge firearm, or to stop you putting pellets or BBs or live ammunition or anything like that through the gun. Now, a lot of people argue that these can be converted. I'm not so sure about that, because you can clearly see here that this is supposed to look like a Glock pistol. Now, these things here, like the one I've got right in front of you, I paid about £100 for this gun. A live firing Glock would cost around £800. Not that you can legally buy them here anyway, but in the United States, etc., they cost about $800. Now, why is there a price difference? Well, there's a massive difference in quality, simple as that. These guns are not built to withstand the pressure of a live cartridge, and they'll explode. There's a good chance that you're going to blow up yourself over firing a projectile. Maybe you're... Honestly, I don't know though, because I've never tried, I've never seen it, and I've not even looked into it enough, but the price difference alone kind of makes you think, yeah, this... I mean, the materials in this is not the same as the real steel Glock. So, when this gun is fired, the flash, which you usually see from a firearm, comes out of the breech here. As does all the smoke, the gases. It all comes out here, the port where the shell is ejected. Absolutely nothing. I'm going to take out the magazine here. By the way, there's absolutely nothing in this gun. Magazine here. Gun is completely empty. So have a look there. Now, this is not pointing towards my face, by the way. I'd like to make that clear. But you can see there, not that it would really matter because it's a blank fire. I mean, even if I put something in this, I still couldn't shoot myself even if I wanted to. But of course, it is still a gun, and caution should still be exercised. You should still follow the basic firearm safety handling, even if it's a blank firer. So we've established that you can't actually fire anything out of this, therefore it is a UK legal. Now, notice here as well, UK 2012. Now, I don't know if that legally has to be there, but that's there just to sort of show that this does comply with UK law. Now, the guy in question had something similar to these. It did not comply with UK law in two ways. Number one, it was a front venting blank firing pistol, like we just mentioned. the gases comes out the front. Also, it was black, although they don't really seem to be talking about that, which is interesting. If you paint these guns black, that's actually punishable by 2 years in prison, which is why I've still got this thing orange. I can't say I really like having it in orange, but legally I have to have it in orange. If I was to spray paint this black, 2 years in prison. It's a criminal offence under the VCR Act, so I'm not going to do that. So his were actually illegal. Now, I'm not entirely sure when they banned those, and I think the reason being is there was the argument made that they were way easier to convert. I mean, you didn't even have to do anything actually. They were readily convertible or something. They were too easy to convert or something like that. So that's all we need to talk about, right? End of story. He broke the law. He shouldn't have had it. Well, hold on a minute. I'm going to kind of defend this guy and saying he didn't do anything wrong. Scotsman, the man broke the law. Of course he did something wrong. He should be punished with the full extent of the law. Well, really, should he? Should he really be punished for having a thing in his own home that he had no intention of hurting anyone with? I mean, I have something very similar as he did right here. This one meets the regulations, of course. This is not illegal to own. This is perfectly UK compliant blank firing pistol. It had something that was illegal to own. Well, legality doesn't dictate morality. So long as he kept it in his own home and he wasn't flashing it around, threatening people, and he didn't have intentions to convert it to a live firing gun, he wasn't intending on harming anyone, he wasn't going to try and rob someone, he wasn't doing anything stupid like that. Does it really matter? Was it a crime? Yeah, it was a crime. The law said it was a crime, therefore it was a crime. Does that make him a bad person? No, that's what we're getting at here. And I would argue no, it doesn't make him a bad person. I mean, does that make me a bad person for having this? I don't intend any harm on anyone. I mean, I couldn't hurt anyone with this even if I tried. In fact, the most damage you could do with this is making someone's ears ring with the bang. Either that or, I mean, you can club them to death with it. I mean, you've basically just got a lump of metal and plastic here. I mean, but you could do that with a brick. So I don't think he really... I mean, he was a collector. I think he had like 14 of these things in his house. Bearing in mind, by the way, the man was like 58 years old. And from what I've read, he imported them from overseas. Now, the article was kind of funny actually, because he was also found guilty of avoiding tax or something like that on these guns. It's like, that's kind of funny because they're charging him for tax avoidance on a thing that they couldn't even tax anyway because the thing was illegal. That's kind of a separate issue though. At the end of the day though, he hasn't hurt anyone, so what's the issue, really? Now, I've also got another blank firing pistol here, just while we're talking about them. Something similar. This is also a UK legal. Now, you notice that there's a large space between the barrel of the pistol and the cylinder. And I think that's for a similar reason, just to stop you being able to fire anything through it. Now, if you have a look at what should be the barrel, it's blocked. I mean, you're not getting anything through there. The barrel is non-existent. Again, we'll have a look. Well, you can't actually see that. This one is in 2.2 rimfire, by the way. The other one being 8mm. This here is the cartridge for the Glock. And if I can find some, if I can get it out of the box. This one's for the Revolver. At the end of the day, he didn't hurt anyone. Should he really be put to jail for harming no one? Now, there is something else I'd like to mention as well. He was also ordered to pay a victim surcharge. I've never heard of that before. I don't really know much about that. But the question to me is, who's the victim? Who is he victimised? by having something like this in the comforts of his own home? Who's he hurt? I also noticed something about a court charge. I didn't know that was a thing. I'm guessing when you're taken to court that the amount of time that they have you in court you've got to pay for. That to me sounds pretty scummy, because he's obviously forced to go to court over a victimless crime. He's been forced to order the fees of the court, which I find to be wrong. I mean, what if he was found innocent? Would he still be forced to pay the fees and the victim surcharge? So he's got I think he's got to pay a total of about £500 or £600, and his entire collection is going to be destroyed, and he's going to spend, I think he said 24 months in prison, so he's going to spend 2 years in prison. So he's not getting out until he's 60, just for having something like this probably on the wall or in a cabinet or in his cupboard. Who's the real criminal there? Who's the real victim there? I would suggest that the man himself was actually the victim, because he's had his property taken off him and destroyed. I mean, if he had about 14 guns, I mean, this blank firing Glock here was about 100 quid. I mean, let's just say he paid 50 quid a piece. I mean, you can get a blank firer for about 50. This one here is about 50 quid's worth. Let's just say they were 50 quid each. Well, that's a pretty penny by itself. Destroyed. On top of the money that the courts ordered him to pay. On top of the fact that he's going to jail for 2 years. Sounds to me like he's been shafted for nothing. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you later.